Imagine a world where steam engines roared across continents, where cities sparkled with gaslight, and where every corner of the globe seemed on the brink of radical change. The 19th century was a time of explosive transformation, a century that saw the dawn of the Industrial Revolution, sweeping scientific discoveries, and seismic shifts in social and political structures. It was an era of grand ambitions and stark contrasts. Opulent mansions stood beside squalid slums. Empires expanded while revolutions erupted, and the world shrank with each new technological advance. Let's delve into this fascinating century and uncover its remarkable highs and profound lows. In the year 1800, the world was a very different place from what we know today. Picture London, where horse-drawn carriages clattered on cobblestone streets, and Paris, where the hum of early industry mingled with the echoes of revolutionary fervor. Across the Atlantic, New York was just beginning to rise as a financial powerhouse. From the echoes of the Napoleonic Wars to the clamor of the American Civil War, the 19th century was a canvas of both progress and conflict. Let's embark on a journey through this dynamic era, exploring the dramatic changes that reshaped societies and nations. The Industrial Revolution, transforming daily life. The Industrial Revolution, spanning roughly from the late 18th century to the mid-19th century, fundamentally changed the way people lived and worked. It began in Britain and quickly spread across Europe and North America, reshaping economies and societies with its groundbreaking advancements. At the heart of this transformation was the development of machinery that could produce goods faster and more efficiently than manual labor. The invention of the steam engine by James Watt, for example, revolutionized transportation and industry. Factories, powered by steam, began to spring up in cities, leading to mass production of textiles, iron, and other goods. This shift from agrarian economies to industrialized ones created a demand for labor that drew people from rural areas into urban centers. Urbanization was one of the most visible effects of the Industrial Revolution. Cities expanded rapidly as factories were built, leading to overcrowded and unsanitary living conditions for many workers. While industrialization led to economic growth and technological progress, it also resulted in stark social inequalities. Workers often faced long hours, low wages, and hazardous working conditions. Child labor was common, and many workers lived in cramped, poorly constructed housing. The vast fortunes made by figures like Andrew Carnegie and John D. Rockefeller exemplify the economic opportunities presented by industrialization, but they also highlighted the growing gap between the wealthy and the working poor. Despite the challenges, the Industrial Revolution set the stage for modern economic systems and technological advancements. It laid the groundwork for the development of contemporary industries and significantly altered the social fabric of societies, influencing everything from labor laws to urban planning. Social changes and the rise of the middle class. The 19th century witnessed profound social changes, largely driven by the effects of industrialization and urbanization. One of the most significant changes was the rise of the middle class, a social group that emerged as a distinct economic and social class during this period. The growth of industries and businesses created new opportunities for people to accumulate wealth and achieve social mobility. Factory owners, entrepreneurs, and professionals, such as lawyers, doctors, and teachers, began to form the middle class. This new class was characterized by its focus on education, economic stability, and social respectability. Unlike the working class, who labored in factories and lived in often squalid conditions, the middle class enjoyed better living standards and had access to more opportunities for advancement. Educational reforms led to the establishment of public schools and universities, making education more accessible to a broader segment of society. This emphasis on education fostered a culture of learning and intellectual curiosity, influencing everything from politics to cultural trends. Social reforms were another area where the middle class made a significant impact. Advocacy for better working conditions, child labor laws, and public health improvements were driven by middle-class reformers who sought to address the inequalities and injustices brought about by rapid industrialization. Their efforts led to the establishment of labor unions, social welfare programs, and legislative changes that aimed to improve the quality of life for many. Overall, the rise of the middle class not only altered the economic landscape, but also contributed to the evolution of social structures and norms, laying the foundation for modern democratic societies and social reforms. Colonization and the expansion of empires. The 19th century was marked by aggressive colonization and expansion of European empires, profoundly impacting global politics, economies, and societies. This era of imperialism saw major European powers, including Britain, France, Germany, and Belgium, extend their control over vast territories across Africa, Asia, and the Americas. The motivations behind this expansion were varied, but often included a desire for economic gain, strategic advantage, and a belief in cultural superiority. The quest for new markets and raw materials drove much of the imperial expansion, with industrialized nations eager to secure economic benefits from their colonies. Colonization had significant consequences for the regions affected. In many cases, local populations faced displacement, exploitation, and cultural disruption. European powers imposed new political and economic systems, often disregarding existing social structures and traditions. In Africa, for example, the Berlin Conference of 1884 and 1885 formalized the division of the continent among European powers, leading to the establishment of artificial borders that disregarded ethnic and cultural boundaries. Missionary efforts aimed at converting local populations to Christianity further contributed to cultural erosion. The legacy of these impacts is still felt today, as many post-colonial nations grapple with the repercussions of their colonial pasts, including economic challenges, political instability, and cultural identity struggles. Imperial expansion also fueled global conflicts and rivalries, contributing to tensions that would later manifest in events like World War I. The scramble for territories and resources created geopolitical competition among European powers, setting the stage for larger-scale conflicts and reshaping the global balance of power. In summary, the 19th century's era of colonization and imperial expansion was a time of significant transformation that had far-reaching effects on both the colonizers and the colonized, shaping the modern world in complex and enduring ways. Scientific and technological advancements. The 19th century was a remarkable period for scientific and technological progress, a time when innovation surged and transformed everyday life. This era witnessed groundbreaking discoveries and inventions that laid the foundation for the modern world. One of the most transformative developments was the advancement in communication technologies. The invention of the telegraph by Samuel Morse in the 1830s revolutionized long-distance communication. By converting messages into electrical signals, the telegraph enabled almost instantaneous communication across continents. This innovation was crucial for business, military, and personal communication, shrinking the world and facilitating more rapid exchange of information. The telephone, invented by Alexander Graham Bell in 1876, further enhanced communication capabilities. Unlike the telegraph, which required messages to be coded and decoded, the telephone allowed for direct voice communication. The development of vaccines, starting with Edward Jenner's smallpox vaccine in 1796, was a major breakthrough. By the end of the century, vaccines for other diseases, including diphtheria and typhoid, were developed, significantly reducing mortality rates. Additionally, the discovery of germ theory by Louis Pasteur and Robert Koch transformed medical practice. Understanding that microorganisms cause diseases led to improved sanitation practices and the development of antibiotics, which would later revolutionize treatment. Transportation also experienced dramatic changes during the century. The steam engine, perfected by James Watt, was crucial for powering trains and ships. The expansion of railways facilitated faster movement of goods and people, contributing to economic growth and urbanization. Similarly, steamships, such as the SS Great Britain, made transatlantic travel more efficient and accessible, fostering global trade and cultural exchange. Overall, the 19th century's scientific and technological advancements had a profound impact on society, laying the groundwork for the 20th century's technological marvels and transforming the way people lived, worked, and interacted. Political upheavals and reforms. The 19th century was a period of intense political upheaval and reform, marked by revolutions, reforms, and the reorganization of power structures across the globe. This era saw the rise of new ideologies and movements that challenged existing political systems and led to significant changes in governance. One of the most notable events was the wave of revolutions in 1848, often referred to as the Springtime of Nations. Across Europe, from France to Hungary, people rose against conservative regimes. The revolutions were driven by a combination of factors, including demands for national unification, democratic reforms, and social justice. In France, the February Revolution led to the establishment of the Second Republic, which promised universal male suffrage and social reforms. Although many of these revolutions were ultimately suppressed, they set the stage for future political changes and highlighted the growing demand for democratic governance. In the United States, the Civil War, 1861 to 1865, was a defining conflict that addressed issues of slavery and states' rights. The Reconstruction era that followed aimed to rebuild the South and integrate formerly enslaved people into American society, although this period also saw significant resistance and the rise of Jim Crow laws that enforced racial segregation. In Britain, the 19th century saw a series of reforms that gradually expanded political participation and addressed social inequalities. The Reform Acts of 1832, 1867, and 1884 extended the franchise, reducing the power of the aristocracy and increasing the representation of the working and middle classes. These reforms were part of a broader trend toward democratization and social reform, which also included improvements in labor conditions, education, and public health. The political changes of the 19th century were not limited to Western countries. In Latin America, independence movements led to the formation of new nations and the decline of Spanish and Portuguese colonial rule. Figures like Simón Bolívar and José de San Martín played crucial roles in these movements, which sought to establish republics and reshape regional politics. Overall, the 19th century was a dynamic period of political change, marked by struggles for freedom, equality, and democratic governance. The reforms and revolutions of this era laid the groundwork for the modern political landscape and highlighted the evolving nature of power and governance. Cultural shifts and the birth of modernity. The 19th century was a period of significant cultural shifts, reflecting and influencing the transformations occurring in society, technology, and politics. This era saw the emergence of new artistic movements, changes in social norms, and a redefinition of cultural values. One of the most influential artistic movements of the 19th century was Romanticism. Emerging in the late 18th century and flourishing throughout the 19th century, Romanticism emphasized emotion, individualism, and a deep connection to nature. Artists and writers like William Wordsworth, Ludwig van Beethoven, and J.M.W. Turner explored themes of personal expression and the sublime, reacting against the rationalism of the Enlightenment and the mechanistic view of the Industrial Revolution. Romanticism celebrated the beauty of the natural world and the power of the human spirit, reflecting a desire for escape from industrialization's harsh realities. Authors like Charles Dickens and Thomas Hardy explored the complexities of Victorian society, often highlighting the contrast between the ideals of the era and the realities faced by many. The 19th century also saw the rise of new forms of entertainment and cultural expression. The invention of photography by pioneers such as Louis Daguerre and William Henry Fox Talbot revolutionized visual art and documentation. Photography allowed for the capture of real-life moments and contributed to the growing interest in visual culture. As the century drew to a close, the foundations of modernity were being laid. The cultural shifts of this era set the stage for the 20th century's dramatic changes in art, literature, and social values. The interplay between Romanticism, realism, and Victorian norms reflects the dynamic nature of cultural evolution and the ongoing impact of historical transformations on cultural expressions. The 19th century was a period of extraordinary transformation, marked by the triumphs and struggles of a world in flux. The Industrial Revolution reshaped economies and societies, giving rise to new social classes and altering daily life in profound ways. The expansion of empires brought both wealth and exploitation, while scientific and technological advancements set the stage for future progress. Political upheavals and reforms challenged traditional power structures, leading to significant changes in governance and civil rights. Culturally, the century was a time of shifting values and artistic expressions, mirroring the dynamic changes occurring across the globe. Reflecting on the 19th century, it's clear that this era was a pivotal moment in human history. The challenges and achievements of this time continue to influence the world today. The contrast between progress and struggle, wealth and poverty, and innovation and tradition are reminders of the complex nature of historical change. Understanding the condition of the world in the 19th century helps us appreciate the strides we've made and the lessons we've learned.